Wife Material Podcast. Don't wait until you're 30 to be a wife. Because one, you're supposed to decide to be a wife before the age of 18. Because while you're still young, right, while you're in your learning phase, which is your preteens and your teenage years, that's when you're learning stuff. That's when you're practicing stuff. That's where you make, you learn from your mistakes, right? You try something, it doesn't work, you try it again, right? You try to make rice, it doesn't work, try again, right? You rather do that when you have the free time. You also want to do that when somebody else is paying for it, right? When your parents are paying for, for the ingredients to learn how to cook, supplying you, they're paying for the cleaning supplies. For example, I'm just, cooking and cleaning are two things you should learn to do. All right, so it's important to do it when somebody else is paying for it. All right, that's the thing about taking advantage of the fact that you live with your parents, is the fact that that's the best time to learn a lot of stuff. Before you have to pay for it yourself, right? Before you have to learn it yourself. Think about it. When you were young, you go to school, or you're probably still young. You go to school, other people are paying for it. Tax money is being paid for it, right? When you go to college, then you either get a loan to go to college, or somebody else pays for it in case your parents pay for you to go to college, or you pay for it yourself, and you work a job in order to pay to get you through college. So at some point, you're going to have to pay for yourself, right? You're going to have to take care of yourself, do things for yourself. So while you have it for free, while you have other people paying for it, like your parents, taxpayer money, right? That's when you're supposed to be learning everything that you're going to need when you get older. Granted, we understand school can be boring. So certain classes can be boring. That's understandable. That's fair. Especially if you're not interested in those subjects. But here's the thing, though. They're just teaching you the basics. You're supposed to figure out what you want to do with your life. Right? What you would like to be ideally. Like, if you want to be a wife, then make that decision. Start learning how to be a wife, right? If you want to be a businesswoman, then learn how to be a businesswoman. If you want to be a makeup artist, learn how to be a makeup artist. The list goes on and on. This is something I do with, like, my younger brothers and sisters and nephews and nieces, is pay attention to what they like. The stuff the stuff they play with. If I notice one of my nephews, for example, is playing with like a toy fire truck, and I see that he plays with a fire truck more than he plays with all his other, cars that he might have a collection of, then that might be a big indicator that he might want to be a firefighter when he gets older. So then I'll encourage it, right? I'll introduce him to, more information, show him videos of being a firefighter on YouTube and stuff like that, and just see if that piques his interest. If he likes it, and he on his own be on YouTube, for example, right, looking at a whole bunch of videos about firefighting, fire trucks and stuff like that, hey, then there you go. That is his interest. If he pursues it, the whole idea is to expose children, right, to things that they might be interested in. So that's why first and foremost you pay attention to what they like, what they gravitate to, right? If they gravitate to like a piano, right, then they might be interested in pianos, right, and music. So show them stuff that has to do with music. Maybe even put them into like a music class or something, get them some piano lessons or something like that. Just be willing to give them the opportunities to be able to try things of interest to them, because it might literally be their future. It might be what they end up doing with their life, which is why you should be trying to show them things, right? Show them that there's so much stuff out there, and you want to get them to learn stuff at a young age, right? You don't want to you want to make their life easier, is what I'm trying to say. So while they're young, help them learn. But this is about females in their teens, and in their 20s. And that's another thing, is in your 20s, that's when you want to obviously learn. I mean, not learn. In your 20s is when you want to spend time, obviously looking for a husband, right? If you're choosing to be a wife, even if you ultimately choose not to be a wife, you should still look for a husband. Look for, a guy that has the potential, to be a husband, right? Looking for the qualities in a husband that you're looking for, and vice versa. It's very important that you try to figure out what these types of guys that you like are interested in, when it comes to a woman, because that's more likely what they want as a wife. Whatever they like in a woman, whatever they're looking for, right? Whatever they're interested in, that's what more likely is going to be the wife. That's what they'll more likely want as a wife, as a woman that, likes a lot of their interests. So if a guy likes video games and anime, for example, or stuff like that, or has some other hobbies, you also having interest in that same hobby is beneficial. That gives you an advantage, especially when he has other females he could be interested in. You have a hobby that he also shares, and that makes you more that makes you stand out more. So that's an important thing, because remember, part of being a wife, it's not just choosing to want to be a wife, it's being picked to be a wife and then being made into a wife. The guy has to choose you to be a wife, so you gotta give him a reason to choose you over any other options, over any other female, right? It's not about luck, it's not about destiny, soulmate, all that extra stuff. That's wishful thinking. That's all that is. Logically, you want to be picked. Being a wife is like, the idea of like you getting hired for a job, and you want the man that you're interested in to hire you for the position of his wife, for his the love of his life, his soulmate, his life partner, whatever you want to call it, right? The mother of his children, so forth and so forth. So, his lover. So you want to make sure you qualify for him, right? Of course, you're going to look for certain qualities in him that, qualifies him for you. Another thing that I notice a lot, that I see that's really annoying, is that a lot of women tend to ignore a guy's potential, ignore the fact that a guy could get in shape. She'd rather just have a guy that's already in shape. It's like, but all the guy has to do is go to the gym. And if you highly encourage that he goes to the gym, in order for you to be his wife, there's a high probability he's going to do it, because he sees that like, okay, that's one of the requirements for you to be my wife. I gotta work out, I gotta be in good shape. All right, 9 out of 10 times the guy's gonna do it. So, because I know that some women will overlook a guy who's on the heavier side, not realizing that, yeah, he's heavy because he doesn't work out, or he's not as active, and he eats unhealthy. You being interested in being, interested in being a wife, you can fix that. You can fix his poor eating habits by teaching him how to eat healthier, cooking him healthier stuff. That's why the skill of cooking is useful, because you can use that to help him be healthier. It's a good idea that you already are healthy, right? That you eat healthy and you exercise. So you can teach him. The thing about, being in a relationship is that y'all share stuff. Y'all share, interests. Y'all share hobbies and stuff like that, which is important to be open-minded to hobbies, right? So if he has a hobby, you gotta be open-minded to either at least respecting that he has a hobby and that's his hobby, and respect it, right? Don't use it as a problem in the relationship that he has a hobby, right? Respect that he has one. It's better that you also like it as well, so y'all can share the hobby together. Just like eating healthy, right? Exercising. These are good hobbies to have, right? Good habits to have that y'all should share. Even other habits like cleaning the house together, raising the children together. The list goes on of all the things y'all could be doing together. And somebody has to initiate that idea. And, you being, wanting to be a wife, you definitely should be the one that initiates a lot of that, right? If you want a man in good shape, you make sure he eats good. You make sure he exercises, right? In and out the bedroom, if you know what I mean. So, make sure he's active. Make sure he has things to do. Physical labor, lifting heavy objects. Expect him to lift heavy stuff. While you handle a lot of the light work, a lot of the logistics, that's where the cooking and cleaning stuff will come in handy. That's all the basic stuff. Because you don't have to actually cook. You can use an air fryer. You can order Uber Eats, whatever. There's many options for obtaining food that doesn't require you to have to actually cook it, right? Or cook, right? You don't even have to cook everything from scratch. You can just reheat a whole bunch of stuff. It depends. Especially if you're eating healthy, it's going to be largely a lot of fruits and vegetables, so it's going to be very little cooking. But if you want to, cook some stuff, bake some bread or something, some healthy bread or whatever, cakes and cookies, whatever, that are healthy, obviously, then hey, to each his own. But most of y'all be eating, fruits and vegetables because it's just much healthier. So again, you won't be cooking as much, but you get my point. It's good to have the skill to cook if need be. That's if you're going the healthy route. If you prefer the unhealthy route, to each their own. You want to be with a man that doesn't eat healthy, and you also don't want to eat healthy, then to each their own. But I recommend and encourage the healthy lifestyle. And like I said, exercising. Exercising is good for both of y'all. For your health, for your longevity. Y'all want to live long, right? Exercise is one way to live longer, right? To live a nice, long, healthy life. You're only getting older, not younger. And exercise is very good for you when you get older. When you're young, yeah, you can be lazy and not really work out because you're young, right? You have the advantage of youth. But the older you get, the more aches and pains you're gonna have, the weaker you're gonna become, right? So exercise to maintain strength, to stay strong. Especially if you have kids and you gotta raise them, blah blah blah. You might want to actually be physically strong. So that's why it's important to, if you're going to be a wife, that you try to do it as early as possible. Is it possible to be a wife after the age of 30, for example? Yes, of course. Because remember, we're saying wife. We're not saying wife and mother, right? We're saying just wife. The mother thing, that's more of a time-sensitive thing. That's why I recommend it. Having the mindset of wanting to be a wife, which can lead to motherhood, and you might want to do that in your 20s as opposed to 30 plus. Because 30 plus, could you be a wife? Yes. But your options will be less because more likely you'll be looking for a husband who don't want kids. Therefore, you being, a little too old for having kids, reproducing, right, becomes less important. But if the guy wants kids, especially if a lot of the guys you want to be with, that you want to choose from, want kids, then that's going to make it harder for you, especially when you're 30 plus. If you're younger, right, then that makes it easier. It's like you're young, they want kids, it works out. You know what I mean? Another thing is, if you do have kids, you want to be young because remember 18 years, right? So you got to add 18 years to your age whenever you consider the idea of having kids, which is why you want a lot of your kids to be born a little bit back to back if you're gonna have multiple kids. And you want to do it while you're young, while you're physically strong and physically capable of handling that type of workload, right? Would there be a possibility in the near future? See, we don't have that now, but in the near future, I'll say maybe 10 years from now, we might get to a point and make it where it's like, yeah, we're gonna a woman over 30 can have kids because we're gonna be doing the whole test tube baby thing. We're gonna, technology, right? Science, but to a certain degree, that could create an issue. But let's just focus on the idea that this will help alleviate the physical stress of birth and pregnancy and stuff like that. If we can have the baby outside of the body, right? So that way, a woman in her 40s or 50s can have kids and it not be a health problem, right? So that being an option. But obviously, it would be better to go more natural. Why not? What I'm saying is, when you can do it while you're young, do it, right? Because that's the best time anyway. Do it while you're young, right? When you're in your 20s. You definitely want. Also, another thing when it comes to looking for the husband, you want him to be in his 30s, early 30s, early 40s, that kind of range. Because you want a guy to already have his life together, already has achieved and amassed enough resources that he can take on another person, you, right? And if you have kids or a kid, you can also provide for them. So you make sure that he's financially stable and capable of taking care of potentially 2 other people besides himself. Trying to get with a guy that's in his 20s while you're in your 20s for the idea of marriage and whatnot and kids, it's not the best option because of the fact that he's not yet at his financial capabilities. Now, if he's young and has the capabilities to take care of wife and kids, hey, great. But that's rare, is what I'm pointing out. That's rare. That the probability of a guy in his 20s, being financially capable of taking care of 2 other people financially for like 18 plus years is not likely in a guy in his 20s, right? He's still going to be in his, young guy phase, right? His immature phase, however way you want to look at it, right? He's an adult male, but he's not yet a man, right? That's important. Understanding, that between the age of 18 and 20, that's when you learn to be an adult, right? That's when you got your 2 years trial run of learning how to be an adult. So until you're 20, in my viewpoint, you're not yet adult. Even though at 18 you're legally an adult, right? 20 is when you're truly an adult because at least you have 2 years of being an adult before you turn 18, right? Sorry. Before you turn 18, you were largely dependent on your parents, so school, society, doing a lot of things for you. So you were very dependent. So once you hit 18, so between the age of 18 and 19, 20, that's when you transition into adulthood. So that's when you're going to be learning how to be an adult, how to take care of yourself. You're going to get that, rude awakening that, not that life ain't easy, life is hard, and the list goes on because it was easy prior to that. Now it's going to get harder, right? Which means you're going to make better decisions, right? You don't have the situation you had before where other people are making decisions for you. Now it's time for you to make your own decisions. And you're going to need, up to 2 years to learn from your mistakes, learn how to be an adult, right? And that's just to learn how to be an adult. That has nothing to do with learning how to be a man or a woman. That's just learning how to be an adult within those 2 years. Then when you're in your 20s, like I said, that's when you start learning about being a woman, learning about being a man, right? That's why guys in their 20s need to focus on improving themselves, learning things, getting a lot of skills, building up their physical strength, because they're going to need it for like a lot of manual labor if they end up doing manual labor work, saving money, being responsible with money, right? Get into that habit of budgeting and all those other factors and start amassing resources, right? Start getting, cars, houses, try to hopefully, have some type of side business or something, some way of generating money even without a job. So that way, as a backup plan, always have to have a backup plan. So even if he loses his job, he still has other ways of making money. So the idea is just to make sure that he's self-sufficient, is what I'm trying to say. He needs to learn to be self-sufficient where, regardless of what goes on in the world, he's able to adapt and survive, right? He's able to, maintain a life regardless of what's going on in the world because he prepared himself. He's ready, right? And he needs that 10-year prep time, right? From 20 to 30, he needs that prep time to, be a, Superman, as it were, in this world. And then when you're with him, right, You want him to be experienced and knowledgeable and prepared and have built something, network, right? Met a whole bunch of people, made a whole bunch of friends that, you know, that way he knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody that can help in whatever situations he might need help from, you know. So that's why it's like not a good idea to try to get married to a young guy, because he's still learning to be a man, right? Learning to be responsible, to be a leader, to be a provider, protector, and all that stuff. But for you, a lot of your education as a female, right, definitely should have started at home, where you had the ability to practice maintaining a house, right? Cleaning your room, you know, cleaning the house, like helping your mother out, you know, with house chores and stuff like that. So that way you can learn time management, learn how to, you know, maintain a house, learn hygiene, learn how to sanitize the house, make sure the house is, you know, healthy, right? Sanitize, so that way no one's getting sick. When people do get sick, learn how to, you know, kind of quarantine, how to guarantee that one person who's sick doesn't make everybody in the house sick, and so forth and so forth. And learn about, you know, medicine, hospital, and home remedies, and the list goes on and on. There's a lot of valuable survival knowledge when it comes to just being a housewife. This is why I always respected and always will respect, you know, mothers and, you know, housewives, because it's like, back in the day, they were like, yeah, it's a job. It's like, yes, it is. It is a very important one, especially in society. It's a very important job. But it's so weird that women nowadays, when they were like, oh, I want the option to either be a housewife or go to the workforce. Like, okay, yeah, a job is a job, right? Choose which job you want to do. You want to do the job of a housewife, a mother, right? No, a wife, or you want to go out there and, you know, be a lawyer or something. All right, choose your destiny. But the problem is, you know, with feminism, it just made you think that there is that every choice other than, you know, a wife, a mother, is a better choice. It's implying that every other choice is better. It's like, no. Every choice is good. They have their you know, ups and downs. They have their plus and minus, right? Their pros and cons, right? You just got to weigh them out. You know, if you're not looking towards spending your life with somebody else, you know, the rest of your life with somebody, having kids and this and that, then yes, you should choose the career path, the boss babe path, right, as they call it. And you could choose that path, because you're not going to be doing the other path, right? You're not gonna be a wife to somebody, right? You're not gonna be somebody's, you know, lover and whatnot, somebody's mother and stuff like that. So it makes sense that you choose the other path, and you deal with, you know, how that path ends. There is an end to every choice, right? Every path. So depending on which path you choose, you know, you're choosing the outcome of your life, right? Most females in the past, even up to this point now, who have chosen the path of, you know, independence. Ladies nowadays like to use the word independence, but y'all not really independent, since y'all part of society, and you depend on society, and you depend on your job, and you depend on paying bills and this, that, and third, and you depend on yourself. It's not really much independence, but okay. The point is that, you know, the single life is the way I prefer to say it. You choosing the single life instead of the wife life. Fine. You choose the single life, well, at the end of your life, you're more likely going to be single. And if you're okay with that, then hey, I'm happy for you. But if that's not the outcome you want, you don't want to be single at the end of your life, you know, before your life ends, you might want to consider the other path. Because the other path, at the end of that path, you're not single. You're not alone, right? You have family and friends. You have a family you built. Remember, a family you created. You created something in the wife path. But if you go in the career path, okay, you created some product or something that made the company you work for billions of dollars. All right, cool. Great for you and the company. But after you're no longer working at that company, do you have anything to show for that? Was that product really worth it? at the end of your life, just think about it. That's all I'm saying. Just think about the outcome of your choices. Is all I'm saying. The consequences. The give and takes. Because the thing is, guys have had that choice for many years. Guys had to choose between being a husband or being an eligible bachelor or single bachelor. Guys chose between single life or being married, right? So that's why it's weird that women, act like they're the only ones who have to choose between being a wife or not being a wife. And it's like, no, guys had to choose between being a husband or not being a husband. And the guys who chose to be not a husband, they were alone at the end of their lives, more often than not. But they chose that life, so hopefully hopefully their life was worth it to be alone at the end of it. Hopefully, they didn't, have a shitty life until the end of their life. So that's what you hope for, right? So that's why it's so weird, the idea of like women talking about like they have rights now as if they never had rights before, but you always did. There was tons of women that weren't wives. Tons of women that weren't wives. There's a term for it. It's called cat lady. Most of these women that weren't wives ended up being cat ladies. They got cats and they were alone. And all they had was their jobs, their apartments. Typically it was an apartment, not a house. Right? A house is something you normally share with another person, aka a husband. So typically they were single, so they had a single apartment with cats. That's who the roommates were, cats. That's why they're cat ladies. Instead of grandbabies. See, the wife route leads you to the end of your life. You're a grandmother with your grandkids, enjoying your, grandmother years, and then you die, right? That's the way that route normally ends. So life is a lot like a video game. You choose the path. You choose how the game is going to end, like how you're going to progress through the game and how it's going to end. That's why it's important that guys, level up. They need to be at a high level to, be able to even have a wife, to even to date. Especially nowadays, guys gotta, have good incomes in order to just date, just to spend time with a woman. Think how crazy that is, right? Just to spend time. And then the female can, take advantage of you. Just be like, thanks for spending time with me and spending a lot of money on me. Oh, you spent $1,200? Oh, that's nice. Last guy I was with spent $3,000 on me. And what, y'all not dating or like what's going on? It's like, and then she just leaves, she just goes off. It's like, so she's just going around wasting people's time and money. Oh. We have a word for that type of woman, right? That type of female. But anyway, the point is that choose your destiny. You have to choose it sooner than later. At a young age, you got to decide what you want to be. Do you want to fully focus on, the career path, right? The, work until the day you die type, path, or be in a relationship with somebody. What's interesting is, obviously, I support the idea of the wife route, and for me, I always expected women who choose to be wives, right, to still try to make money, right, through working from home. That's one of the things that I encourage. It's like, you don't have to have a job and go to the job. You can work from home. Because we have all these conveniences, like, we got, like I said, Uber, air fryers, microwaves, dishwashers, room bots that can vacuum for you. Like, you can pay for a cleaning service, pay for people to come in and just clean your house for you. Like, we have so many of these conveniences, so many of these options, that being a housewife, it's not the same type of work as it used to be. Because now you, as a wife, can automate it. You can automate being a housewife. You can have other people do the work for you of a housewife. You don't have to do it yourself. But it would be cheaper if you do it yourself. That's the point I'm trying to make here. Is it'd be cheaper if you do a lot of the housework yourself. But if you want to, make the workload easier on yourself, pay for it. Pay somebody to clean the house instead of you cleaning it, right? Buy equipment that makes it easier to clean the house. So that way, you don't have to do it the hard way, right? Imagine, making sure you have a self-cleaning a shower, right? As an example, like a self-cleaning shower, self-cleaning oven or whatnot. Like, making sure that every piece of technology, everything you have in the house has a way of taking care of itself, so you don't have to take care of it. Being good at buying products that last long and have multiple options on it, so it can make a lot of different things easier. That's why I keep mentioning the idea of like an air fryer or something like that, because that's like a really popular kitchen item that anyone can use. Men can use it too, right? Kids can use it. So this is a very useful item that makes the whole cooking thing easier. Makes it where like you don't really have to cook, because since an air fryer makes cooking easier, your kids can feed themselves, right? When they're old enough, obviously. When they're old enough, like, hey kids, let me show you how to use the air fryer, so when you're hungry, you can eat. Now, of course, we have specific times and where you're allowed to eat, because I don't want y'all to just eat every 30 seconds, right? Eat in a specific time, right? Structure, right? Your job is to add structure in the home, leadership, rules, and all that stuff, and also help enforce the rules. Your husband enforces the rules even more to the next level, if you get my drift, when need be. But if you do things, well, don't need to go to the extremes to resolve issues. You can just, words will be more than enough in certain situations. But like I said, a lot of things can be made easier, and that's the thing. As a smart woman, educated woman, you should be able to figure that stuff out, right? Be able to make life easier. That's the thing. You make life easier not only for yourself, you make life easier for those around you, like your husband, like your kids. You make things easier for them, right? And of course, they'll appreciate that. And they definitely should appreciate that you're able to make life easy for them, while they're home. Because life is already hard. It makes no sense for them, to come home and then life is hard as well. Life should be easy. And that's part of your job as a wife, is to make life easy for you and your family. Just like your husband's job is to make life easy for you and his, and the kids, right? By providing, protecting, and doing all this other stuff, dealing with the outside world. Think about it. Every time your husband leaves the house, it's like he's going into, think of it like a zombie apocalypse. He's going out there to get supplies. He's going out there to, to do stuff, but he has to deal with the dangers of, of the zombies, right? The dangers that's out there. There's dangers out there. Every time I'm traveling to work, I take public transportation. I take the train and buses, right? I use public transportation for now, and I have to deal with certain types of people that, I would prefer to avoid. But, it's called public transportation for a reason. So I can't avoid them. They'll be there. So I just do my best to survive the trip. And think about it, I have to survive a trip to work, right? Just traveling to work is already dangerous enough and problematic. You never know when the bus or the train might, crash or something. It might be a terrorist attack or something, right? Or it could just be somebody that gets on the bus or train and shoots people, right? Anything is possible. Or just somebody's very, very sick and they contaminate and make everybody else on the bus or train sick. So I got a lot I gotta deal with just through traveling. So every time I leave my house, I'm not safe. I'm in danger. So I gotta I gotta be safe. Right? I gotta be strong, in good shape, and health. I can't be, having, I can't have trouble running, right? Running can save your life, so you gotta be good at running. That's where a treadmill comes into play. That's why exercise and eating healthy is a good idea. I've been slimming down, which is good. I'm getting stronger, which is always good. And that's the way it should be. So, once you decide at a young age that you want to be a wife, or at least you'll be interested in the possibility of being a wife, because you don't have to, just because you choose to be a wife at a young age doesn't mean when you get old, you will be a wife. It's just the fact that at least you have that mindset that you would be a wife if, the opportunity presented itself, and you will prepare for that. Just like if you're like, I want to be an astronaut when I get older. Okay, well, while you're young, learn about space, learn about being an astronaut, learn about NASA, right? Learn about space shuttles, rocket science, whatever. Just, learn about that subject, learn about that thing you might do when you get older, is all I'm saying. But a lot of people don't think about what they would do in the future and try to prepare for it. They just expect that in the future they'll be ready. Like in the future, whatever happens, and they'll be ready for it. It's like, no, it doesn't work that way. You could literally go 10, 20 years doing nothing and then end up in a situation where it's like, well, damn, it's been 10, 20 years and the world has changed and it's now more complicated than it used to be. Life is harder now because I'm not prepared for all these changes, for all this differentness, right? And that's what happens when you don't prepare. You gotta prepare for the future, right? Just like I see women, having, resisting the idea. They're against. I'll just say it. They're against the idea of being a wife, right? Being married, because for a couple reasons. One, the idea of being a slave. That's a ridiculous idea that's out there. Abuse, like, oh, once I get married, automatically I'm going to get abused. Like, that's not the agreement of marriage. That's not what marriage is about. It's not about getting abused. When a man becomes a husband, he doesn't automatically become an abuser. That's not how that works. If you marry an abuser, well, then you married an abuser. But men by default, guys by default, don't become abusers. Don't become violent because they're married, because they became a husband. That's not how that works. There's no transformation there. If he's an abusive person, he just always was. If he's a toxic person, he just always was. And that also holds true for women. Women are not toxic in relationships. They're not always a victim. They're abusers too, right? So the thing is making sure that A, you're not an abuser, right? You're not toxic. You're not an abusive person, right? You're not a violent person. And then B, choose a man who's the same, who's not abusive, right? Who's not toxic, who's not violent. Granted, he needs to be able to be violent when it's necessary, as in, when somebody's life is in danger, he'll step up and, handle business like a man, right? But he, is resistant to use force, but he'll use it if necessary. It has to be, a situation that calls for it. If he seems like the type of guy that likes to go around and just beat up and get into fights with a whole bunch of guys or people in general, it's like, oh, there's a high possibility he might be abusive. If he gets into fights every other week, yeah, he's toxic. Yeah, he's abusive. Yeah, he might slap you up a bit. You might not want to be with a guy like that. A guy who spends, that you notice has a habit of avoiding confrontation, avoiding fights. Where you notice he was in a situation which like, let's say he was in a situation where it's like, oh man, this situation looks like, my man's gonna fight, but then he doesn't. He holds back. He tries to either talk through the situation, or he just like walks away. And then later on, you notice that like he's a little angry about the situation, but you notice, that he's controlling it, right? He's controlling his feelings, his emotions, right? And he's controlling the situation. Notice that, the fact that he feels like he wanted to do something but didn't do something, that's him having control. That's the kind of guy you want, a guy who has control of those emotions, right? That when he feels like hurting somebody, he doesn't. He holds back. That's the kind of guy you want to be with. If you're with a guy that, beats people up just because they said something he didn't like, yeah, he's abusive. Or there's a high probability he's very abusive. Just saying. Choose better, ladies. Choose better. So once you do decide to get married, to be a wife, right? And like I said already, that, you got to learn how to be a wife. The sooner the better, because these are skills you need to practice. These are things that need to be part of your personality, right? Your second nature, right? Because these are skills, right? Being a wife is a skill. It's a job. It's a job type. It's a job that comes with a title, obviously, which means it also comes with responsibility. You're responsible to represent your husband, right, in a positive way, just like he needs to represent you in a positive way. You need to represent your children in a positive way, and vice versa, right? You're very responsible for how the children's turn out socially. So you gotta be good, socializing, good with dealing with other people, and be able to teach your children to also do the same, so they can get along with other people. Because that's how society works. It's everybody getting along. Society doesn't work when everybody is an individual. Everybody has opinions, and everybody's disagrees and are against each other. Look at the current state of the world right now. With everybody being opinionated and everybody being an individual, everybody, looking out for numero uno and ignoring everybody else. This is where we get a lot of the issues that we're having right now. It comes from that. It comes from selfishness. One of the worst character traits a human can have is being selfish. The human race does better and survive for thousands and thousands of years when they're working together, not when they're at war with one another. Teamwork makes the dream work. That's part of being in a marriage, right? Or in a relationship at all. It's the teamwork. What you bring particular skills and resources to the relationship, and the person in your relationship does the same. They bring their particular set of skills and resources, and then y'all share resources. Y'all share each other's skills. Y'all share the workload, right? You use your skills to do what needs to be done, and he uses his skills to do what needs to be done, and you go from there. And that's how you build stuff in general. Build a family, right? Build a community, build a nation, build the world. It's through working together. But too many people out here with the mindset of individuality that, of course everybody's like, you know what? I'm gonna just go get a job, pay my own bills, travel, this, that, and the third, make myself happy, and that's it. And I don't need nobody else. But if that was the best choice, if that produced the best outcome for the people who make that choice, then it would make sense that, people make that choice a lot, and it's a very popular choice if that was the best route. But we've seen time and time again, we've been seeing it for many, many years now, that choice, that route, is not the best route. It's a route. You can choose that path if you want, but we've seen that path doesn't tend to lead anywhere, doesn't lead to an ideal ending, an ideal outcome for most people, especially for most females. Most females don't like the outcome of that path, which is why I'm trying to remind ladies, or at least let some ladies know who don't know that that's the outcome of that path of choosing, selfishness, self-love, whatever you want to call it, independence, all that stuff. It comes with a lot of cons as much as it comes with pros. the the wife route, or the relationship route, symbiotic relationship route, that tends to have more pros than it has cons. It'll still have cons. Nothing's perfect, obviously, but it will have more pros than cons, as opposed to being single. Being single will have more cons than pros. Right off the bat is lack of support is one of the cons that you automatically have being single, because you're single, aka one. When you're in a relationship, you're a couple that multiplies your capabilities and your support, because you literally have someone else to support you, right? Somebody else to help you, and vice versa. So y'all help each other, which is better than you trying to do everything by yourself. So both sides, have their pros and cons. It's up to you to decide which one you prefer. I'm not telling you not to choose the single life. I'm just letting you know your options. I'm just letting you know what the single life is like, what happens at the end of that single life, that path. And if you like what it sounds like, if you like what you're hearing, then choose that path. You do you, right? But if you prefer the other path, you like the idea of, retiring, at a young age, enjoying life, achieving a lot of your life goals, with the help of others, the help of your husband and whatnot, then the wife route path is an option. It's a route you can go. I did say you want to choose and be prepared and start that path early. Start it in your 20s, but it's not 100% too late to do it 30 plus. The only thing is that when you're 30 plus, trying to start becoming a wife and stuff like that, you have to understand you're going to probably need an assistant. I'll word it that way. You're going to probably need an assistant to help out with things that you too old to do yourself. So you would need a younger assistant to help you out with those requirements, right? Those tasks. The tasks you can't perform is the tasks that the younger assistant can perform. If obviously to each their own. I'm just suggesting a option, an idea of what you can do. If you're 30 plus trying to be married, you might want to consider involving a assistant that's obviously that's in their 20s for motherhood, for example. It doesn't have to be a permanent thing. It could just be a surrogate. You can consider that. There's many options. You can adopt kids. I definitely support that idea. That's one of the things I definitely support, is that there's kids out there that need guidance, need parents, right? Need adults to teach them to be adults. So that way, when they're adults, they can function in society and be able to choose their path, right? Choose the life they want. So I definitely support adopting. What else? You want to... I can't think of much else. That's a lot of... Well, obviously, choosing to be a wife, and then you want to do it while you're young, right, for the purpose of kids. But if you choose, or you end up in the situation where you're past that, right, you're in your 30s, you're in your 40s, then you have to do things differently. So since you're doing things differently, that's where adopting could be an option. That's where like I said, an assistant would be an option. That way you don't have to try to do everything yourself, right? And obviously making money it's beneficial in that regards. Oh yeah, that reminds me of the thing I wanted to say earlier was, let's say you do, you get married in your 20s, have kids and stuff. By the time you're close to your 40s, right? Your kids should be old enough that they can take care of themselves, or they can, they're old enough to move out and stuff like that and be on their own. And then at that point, 40 plus, after having kids and stuff, you can, have a career. You can do the career thing. One of the problems I always see is that women want to do career thing when they're young, because it seems so much fun and exciting, and they're trying to live their best life, city girl life and all that stuff, and they try to do that while they're young. But we know that doesn't last that long, right? And because you're young for a short period of time, and then you get old, right? So you're young and you're working, right? So you're spending a lot of your young years working, and then when you get old, then it's like, damn, I don't want to work that much. I just want to, have fun. I want to relax, essentially retire. But, now you're at the point where it's like, well, if you had your kids, if you already had your kids, your husband, stuff like that, right? You already had that life in your 20s. That once you get into your 30s and 40s, then you can start doing the whole traveling and just chilling and whatnot. The whole retirement thing, because you'll have the you should have money. And that's why I was talking about working from home. Is like, just because you choose to be a wife doesn't mean you can't. No one's saying you can't make money. We're just saying that you should make money in a way that doesn't prevent you from being able to be a wife, right? To be able to have kids and take care of kids. Because if you have a career, a job, and you get pregnant, for example, then you got to leave the job, to handle the pregnancy. But if you work from home, you're already at work, right? You can still work, especially if your work is, easy to do. Especially if you can automate your job, your work, through your phone or a computer or something like that. Or you can maybe hire somebody to come in to your house and, do a lot of the work for you. Or you could outsource work, the workload to somebody. Give them a cut, you get a cut, and that's something you can do. It'd be hard to do that at a job. You can't be at your job and be like, hey, I'm pregnant and I'm gonna, be gone for like 9 months to a year, and somebody else is gonna come here and do the job for me. So I'll see you in a year. And it's like, they're not gonna agree to that. But if you work at home, or you work for yourself, like you have your own little home business, you have that control. You can be like, okay, I'm gonna get somebody else to do the work for me while I handle the pregnancy. See, that is smart. That is logical. That makes sense. This is what I expect women to do. I expected this for many, many years. Way before COVID and Zoom and everybody trying to work from home. I've been had this idea. Been expected women to do that. I definitely expect my wife to do that. To be able to work from home. That's if she wants. I'm not saying she has to work from home or make money and stuff. I could, handle the money part. But if she wants to work, then that's a compromise. That's a way she can make money. She wants to work, all right, work from home. While I'm off doing what I'm doing, making money, you can be at home making money. Got no problem with that, right? But at the same time, it's like, I do need somebody to help me out, right? When it comes to, to maintaining a house, right? To be in a relationship with, if we have kids, to help me raise them, right? Of course, I'm gonna be part of the kid's life, which is also why I was like, the idea of like being able to work from home, not just be something useful for my wife, but also something useful for me, because, if my wife is pregnant, has kids and stuff like that, well, she gets pregnant in the first place, I don't want to spend most of my time at work waiting for her to call me, be like, oh my God, my water break, and then I have to leave work to go try to get to her, and then try to get her to the hospital, right? I don't want to go through all those extra steps. I'd rather be home. It's like while she's pregnant, I'll be home too. I'll work from home during her pregnancy, right? So that's why, the idea of work from home is a great solution for that idea. It's like that's supposed to be the modern lifestyle. You're supposed to be working from home. You shouldn't have to be out there, in a big office building, for example, being in front of a computer. We have laptops, cell phones, tablets, smart TV. You can stay home and be on a computer. You don't need to go somewhere to be on a computer. That makes no sense. One, that saves the company money by not having you guys, having their employees in a building together and stuff like that. Also reduces anybody who's sick getting everybody else sick. Those are factors. The list goes on and on of the benefits of working from home. Plus the fact that you can work multiple jobs. The fact that you can work multiple jobs, especially if you can multitask. Imagine having 2 laptops and working at 2 jobs at the same time, right? Just typing away on one computer and doing tasks on another computer. So while you're waiting for the work over here to be finished, in case you depending on your job, you do one job on one computer, another job on another computer, maybe do something else on your phone, and now you're doing all of these different things to generate income, all from home. And if you need to, step away from the devices and go spend time in your life, go live your life, you can. Right? That's the modern lifestyle that people should be trying to strive for, is, more, live your life more, work less, live more, right? Because we don't live to work. We work so we can live. So many people forget that. They think that they exist literally to pay bills. They think they exist to buy things. They think they exist to have a job, a career, which is why it's, ridiculous when you hear ladies out there talking about, their career. Their career is like, it's not your career. It's not yours. You didn't create it, so it's not yours. So stop saying it's your career. It's not your career. This is something somebody else is willing to pay you to do. Somebody's willing to pay you to spend hours and hours and hours doing what they want you to do. And they pay you for that. It's not your career. Your time is not even your time, right? You talk about your life, your body, your choice, and all that stuff, but is it really yours when you're so busy giving it away to a company, a job, a career, as it were? You're giving all your time and your body to something that doesn't care about you as much as you do care about yourself, or as much as a significant other, a husband or a man, would care about you. But hey, to each their own. You choose your destiny. I'm just stating facts. I'm just letting you know what's going on in the world, giving you some solutions to some problems. Hopefully what I say is helpful to those who need it. And that's the end of the podcast.